Good morning, students. Lord Byron is one of the notorious poets that you will ever read in the history of English literature, and he always remained consistently in the disagreements with Robert Southey, who became the poet laureate during the time when Lord Byron was living. And after Robert Southey, it came William Wordsworth, who remained the poet laureate till 1850. And before William Wordsworth, it was Robert Southey. So throughout the career, both Lord Byron and Robert Southey kept on attacking directly or indirectly in their works. So Lord Byron's attack was much more vicious and notorious, as if we compare to the attacks done by the Robert Southey. And what he did was, he even went on to say that the wife of Southey was milliner of Bath. Milliner is nothing but some sort of you can say the occupation held by a prostitute. So actually both Robert Southey and S.T. Coleridge were interested in forming a utopian society, were interested in establishing a utopian society, a utopian world, and the same kind of world which Thomas More has talked in his work Utopia. And what they did was, they married to two friends. They married to two girls who were rumored to be the milliner of Bath, who were rumored to be the prostitutes. We don't know whether this was true or not, whether the wives were the milliners or not, but Lord Byron entertained himself. He promoted this idea to a great extent. He found out this idea much more interesting, and he kept on using this idea whenever he wrote any work. So this led to the anger of Robert Southey, and then Robert Southey wrote a work, A Vision of the Judgment. And in that particular work, A Vision of the Judgment by Robert Southey, he coined a phrase that is Satanic School of Poetry. Then Robert Southey put these two poets, P.B. Shelley and Lord Byron, under this category, Satanic School of Poetry, by making Lord Byron as the head of this poetry. So just like in the previous literary movements, we saw that Kit Kat Club was against Scribblerus Club. The same way here we have the Lake Poets and you can say the Satanic School of Poetry. They both were sort of attacking each other. And the main people who were much more interested in these two groups were Robert Southey from Lake Poets, and you can say the Lord Byron from Satanic School of Poetry. Okay, so in this video we are going to look on everything about Satanic School of Poetry, and we are also going to discuss some points which are important from competitive examination point of view. So before continuing this video, if you are one of those students who are preparing for UGC NET examination or GATE examination in English literature, then you can simply check out our study material from our official website limitlessliterature.com. You can check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. Now without any further delay, let's continue our discussion on Satanic School of Poetry. So Lord Byron and Robert Southey remained in disagreements with each other throughout their poetic career. These disagreements can be religious disagreements, or you can say political disagreements or poetic disagreements. So they kept on attacking each other throughout their poetic career. So we have three important attacks done by Lord Byron in his works, beginning with the first one, which is English Bards and Scotch Reviewers. Second attack was in Don Juan, and the third one is The Vision of Judgment, which was written in response to another work written by Robert Southey. As I've just mentioned that Lord Byron was a notorious poet, and his attacks were much more personal, were much more notorious, were much more vicious as we compare it to Robert Southey's attack. And even Lord Byron has attacked Robert Southey in his work Don Juan, which became very popular. So in the Cantos 3 of Don Juan, Lord Byron says that Robert Southey does not have good sexual drive. He cannot satisfy anyone. So this was a very personal remark on Robert Southey, and Robert Southey was very much angry. And this Don Juan became very popular, and this tainted the image of Robert Southey, and he was very much angry. And in response to Don Juan, he wrote A Vision of the Judgment. And in this work, A Vision of the Judgment by Southey, he kept on saying that Lord Byron is a very immoral person, and he is going to corrupt the youth. He is Satan, and he does not have any ethical values, and he keeps on remarking about the personal life of people. So Robert Southey mentioned all these things in The Vision of Judgment. and he also coined this, you can say, the literary movement, you can say the term, the Satanic school of poetry, by making Lord Byron the head of this Satanic school of poetry. And yes, he put P.B. Shelley into the Satanic school of poetry also. We can say that P.B. Shelley and Lord Byron were good friends, and they were very close friends to each other, and they both shared the same qualities. Yes, whenever we use the phrase the birds of feathers flock together, that yes, the two people who have same characteristics, who have same habits, who think same, most probably become the friends. Okay, so P.B. Shelley and Lord Byron were the two people who shared the same sentiments, who shared the same habits and characteristics. But yes, we don't study Lord Byron in our schools and colleges, just because Lord Byron's work was much more inclined towards sexuality, inclined towards you can say the immoral things. But yes, Lord Byron is very much, you can say, is one of the most underrated poets. We must read Lord Byron the way we read Shelley and Keats, because Lord Byron's poetry is not less than the poetry written by Shelley and Keats. Okay, so but in our colleges and school we only study Shelley and Keats, just because there are not so much you can say sexual remarks, or you can say the notorious things that Lord Byron used to write in his poems. So Robert Southey published A Vision of the Judgment, and in response to this particular work, Lord Byron wrote The Vision of the Judgment. Okay, so there is A in A Vision of the Judgment, and then there is the in the Vision of the Judgment. Okay, so this was a reply from Lord Byron in response to Robert Southey's A Vision of the Judgment. This was a question in UGC NET examination. In match of the following questions, they asked about that who has written these works, A Vision of the Judgment or The Vision of the Judgment. So it was Robert Southey who wrote A Vision, and then it was Lord Byron who wrote The Vision of Judgment. So The Vision of Judgment was published under the pseudonym Quedo Redivish. And in this work, just like Robert Southey called the Satanic school of poetry, he is mocking, he is saying that if we are the Satanic school, then you must be from the divine school. And he then uses the themes like angels, Lord Byron uses the themes like angel or heaven, or you can say God, all these. Saint Peter, yes, Saint Peter is also there in Lord Byron's The Vision of Judgment. He used heavenly characters to mock Robert Southey. So what happens is that in this particular work, The Vision of Judgment, Robert Southey comes. So Robert Southey appears at the gate of heaven, and Robert Southey starts reciting his poems. So after listening to these poems, all the gods, all the angels started running away. This is what Lord Byron has written in his The Vision of Judgment. So all the angels started running away because this poem, this poem which is recited by Robert Southey is very much ridiculous, is very much disgusting. And Saint Peter was also present there, who was also disgusted by Robert Southey's poem. So what he did was he threw him out of the heaven, and threw him out of the heaven and into the lake which becomes the Lake Poets. Okay, so this is the way Lord Byron has you can say mocked Robert Southey by saying that this is the way, if you go on reciting the poems to the gods, to the heaven, to Saint Peter, they are going to do this thing with you. So never recite your poem to the gods, never recite your poems to the angels. So the two personalities which were attacked in this The Vision of Judgment by Lord Byron were King George III and Robert Southey. You don't have to study this The Vision of the Judgment by Lord Byron or A Vision of the Judgment by Robert Southey in detail. Just remember all these points which I have mentioned in this video, and remember the two personalities which was mocked in this particular work by Lord Byron, which is George III and your King George III and Robert Southey. Simply remember the basics, that this literary movement, the Satanic school of poetry, was coined by Robert Southey, and in response to that, Lord Byron also has written some works. Alright, so this is all I have to share in this video. I hope you found the video worth your time. If you are new to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe the channel for more updates on English literature. So that's it for this video. Thank you.